Okay. Right. Right.
Can you hear me that? Yep. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله أرسله الله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. أما بعد. So alhamdulillah, we were missing one of our links to the chain, but hopefully he's okay. Hopefully everything is all right, and hopefully the next time we'll have an opportunity to benefit from him. And I was Dr. Raymond Brock. So we'll conclude with the last session, which is 10 signs that 10 signs that you are not ready for marriage. So I'll begin with a brief introduction. As you already know, I can't just jump into a lecture. I have to give you the prelude. The journey of marriage, just like any other journey, requires adequate preparation. 5 P's to success. You've heard me say it on a million of occasions. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. All right? Marriage is a journey just like getting in your car, driving down to Atlanta, Georgia. Just like they got on a plane and they flew to Philadelphia, there were some things that they had to pack to bring along with them to make sure that that journey was successful, to make sure that they reached their destination. They had to have ID. They had to, make sure that they were physically able to get on a plane, not sick. Make sure they got finances, funds. You don't travel anywhere without money. Make sure you got clothes. Make sure you have these are all things that you take along with you along your journey. So the journey of marriage, right? Just like any other journey, requires adequate preparation. And many of the journeys that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, He highlights the provisions that were necessary for the individuals to reach their destination. What journeys did Allah mention in the Quran? Are there any journeys that we can think about that prophets, messengers, righteous people in the Quran went on journeys? One of the greatest journeys that we find in the Quran is the journey of Prophet Musa alayhi salam to Fir'aun. Right? Allah said, "Idhab ila Fir'aun, innahu tagha." Go to Fir'aun. He has transgressed all boundaries. So Musa had to embark on this journey. It was physically traumatic as well as spiritually. So much so that Musa turned around and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a few things. Right? He said, قَالَ رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي وَاجْعَل لِّي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي هَارُونَ أَخِي, to the end of it. He said, "Oh Allah, open for my chest, open my heart for me. Make me tolerant." Of Fir'aun, you go into an oppressor, so quite naturally, he's going to be oppressive. And in order for me to confront him and speak truth to power, I need to have an open chest, meaning to be tolerant. And then he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the lisp from his tongue so that the person could understand what he's saying. If you're conveying da'wah, if you're giving a message to somebody, you want to make sure that they understand it. Not that you're just conveying it and then you walk away and say, "I gave him da'wah." Or you go and you advise somebody and you say, "Well, I gave him nasiha, he didn't listen." Well, I didn't understand. Right? Or unsolicited advice. I didn't ask you. That's even worse. He said, remove the lisp from my tongue so they can understand what I'm saying. And then make me a second in command from my family. Not just any Joe, from my family. Harun Akhi, my brother Harun. Make him a partner in this. Right? So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what he believed was necessary for him to be successful along this journey. You guys follow me? All right? How about Maryam? Did Maryam go through a journey? Absolutely. Absolutely. Physically and spiritually and emotionally. To the point where she said, Ya laytani mittu qabla hada wa kuntu nasyan mansiya. I wish I had died before this, so that I would have been a thing forgotten. Don't tell me depression, don't tell me anxiety, don't tell me these type of mental disorders don't drive a person to feel like they want to commit suicide. She said, I wish I had died before this, right? This was the emotional journey, that she had to bring a child into her community and not marry, you know, and explain that to her family, explain that to her community. Even so much so when they asked her, you know, how could you do this? Your mother wasn't known to be like that, nor was your father. She couldn't even speak, right? You ever get so angry and, you know, you don't even know what to say. You can't even articulate yourself. And she just pointed to the baby. And Allah caused Jesus to speak in his cradle in defense of his mother. That was a journey. But the preparation that she had was that she knew that it was a journey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel to her in the form of a man. And he said that I came to give you glad tidings of a son. She said, how can I have a son when no man has touched me? And Jibreel said, this is what your Lord has decreed, wa huwa alayya hayyin, and it's something that is very easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she was at least aware, right? She was made aware at the very beginning. So success in any endeavor is in knowing what you're getting into, right? Some of us going into marriage and we don't realize what we're getting into. And you think about it, for those of us who are converts to Islam, you converted to Islam, and then the first thing someone says to you is, you need to get married. If you were a non-Muslim, was marriage on your mind? Absolutely not. Most of us at 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, 35 years old, if we were still non-Muslims, marriage was the furthest thing from our minds. Then we become Muslim and all of a sudden it becomes a top priority. 60% of African Americans in this country don't get married. And that's according to Pew studies from 2013. I'm sure that number has increased by now. 60% of African Americans do not get married. So now we take Shahada, and then weeks after we've taken Shahada, now marriage becomes a priority. When it was the furthest thing from our minds when we were non-Muslims. As a matter of fact, even when we were non-Muslims, we might have courted and dated and been, what do they call it not intended, we call it intended. What do they call it?
Going together.
No. Engaged.
Oh.
Your engagement period as a non-Muslim is longer than your courting as a Muslim. Go figure. Mm-hmm. You engaged for 2 years.
So don't stay married then, right?
No.
And your marriage doesn't last 6 months. You have non-Muslims who their engagements are longer than our marriages. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We know non-Muslims in our communities who share children between them, baby mother, baby daddy, and they together on some civil marriage type of stuff, and their relationships last longer than many of our marriages. They've been together for years. They don't feel like they need to validate their relationship with a piece of paper, as they say. They've been married, they've been together for years. And it's a courtship that lasts longer than our marriages. But knowing what you're getting into, when Jibreel was informing Maryam that she was pregnant with a child, he was basically telling her, this is the task that is in front of you. She was aware of what she was going into, and that was her provision. Sometimes just something as simple as knowing what you're getting into will contribute to the preparation that you need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in another verse in the Quran, Surah number 2, ayah 197, Allah says, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ زَادَ التَّقْوَى. Take your provision on your journey, and the best provision you can take with you is taqwa. On any journey. Any journey, the best provision to take with you is consciousness of Allah, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your best provision on any journey. And many of us going into marriages in Islam, we fail to even bring that with us because we come in from the very beginning playing games. No fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no looking at the sister sit in front of you because we have objectified one another. All I want from you is to help me save myself from the hellfire. So I'm gonna objectify you, I'm gonna objectify marriage, all until I get what I want. So the journey of marriage is no different. So what provisions are we taking with us on this journey? The moment we decide I'm ready to get married, what provisions are we taking along with us? In addition to this, it is imperative that we know ourselves, and knowing ourselves means that we know our limitations before we go into marriage. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers real quick. Going back to an ayah that he mentioned from Surah to Yusuf. I'm talking about knowing yourself and knowing your limitations before you go into a marriage. When Yusuf came out of prison and it was found that he was not guilty, he was exonerated completely, the king of Egypt during that time, he said, "Ituni bihi astakhlisuhu li nafsi, astakhlisuhu li nafsi." فَلَمَّا كَلَّمَهُ قَالَ إِنَّكَ الْيَوْمَ لَدَيْنَا مَكِينٌ أَمِينٌ. So the king said, "Bring Yusuf to me." Pay attention. King said, "Bring Yusuf to me." He said, "I'm going to appoint him a specific office, position, specifically next to me, close to me. Because today he is makinun amin. He is safe, protected by me, and he is well established in this position. I'm going to give him that." Yusuf, he countered that. What did he say? Yusuf said, قَالَ اجْعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَائِنِ الْأَرْضِ إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ أَمِينٌ. He said, "No, appoint me over the treasury. Appoint me as a treasurer. I don't want to be the king. Appoint me as the treasurer, for indeed I am hafiz, I'm a good keeper, I'm good with money. Wa amin, and I'm knowledgeable of, or alim, I am knowledgeable of my task." He knows himself. So when someone says to you, "You know what, you should get married," you should say to the person, "I'm not ready for marriage." Because you know yourself. You know yourself that you are not. If someone was suggested to you before you took Shahada, before you were a Muslim, and someone would have suggested to you, "Hey, what about marriage?" That's the furthest thing from my mind right now. But we become Muslim, and weeks after we're Muslim, a sister told me yesterday, 30 days after she was Muslim, a brother was trying to marry her. 30 days after she's been Muslim. She hadn't even acquainted herself with her Lord, and you trying to get her to acquaint herself with you. How much can you expect from somebody who's only been Muslim for 30 days, for a month? So Yusuf alayhi salam, even though the king of Egypt trusted him, he said, "You know, you're trusted, and you know, I want to put you in this position." Yusuf said, "No, place me as the treasurer over the money. I'm good with money. Inni hafidhun alim, that I'm knowledgeable about this, of this task." Right? So stay in your lane of competency. Don't venture outside of your lane. So the fact of the matter is that some of us are not ready for marriage. It's the bottom line. Some of us are not ready for marriage. Unfortunately, some of us don't figure it out until the marriage is over. And we've hurt a lot of people. And we've left a trail of tears along the way. We've hurt a lot of people. And instead of owning the fact that we're not ready for marriage, we enter this institution of marriage as if everything is okay, and we make it seem like something is wrong with the other person. Something wrong with you. Nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect. Something wrong with you. You ever talk to those people when you ask them, "Well, what happened with the man?" "Well, you know, she didn't fear Allah. She wasn't like this," or vice versa. "You know, the brother stuck for the law. He was like this. He was like that." No ownership. They take zero ownership. And if the brother was so bad, then that says a lot about your judgment, because you chose to marry him. So the more you say about how bad of a brother he was to garner the sympathy of the person you're talking to, the more you are self-disclosing how your judgment was compromised. You married him. Well, I didn't know, he deceived me. He didn't deceive you. Red flags was there, down on the play. You ignored every single one of them. It's like the running back, he's still running. They don't threw the flag on the play. He's still running. It's like, yo, the play is over with, dude. You still running with the ball. You're going to continue running after you just saw all these red flags. You're going to keep going. And then turn around and make it seem like it was somebody else's fault. Or even worse, we make the other person responsible for our issues. It's your fault I'm like this. I'm going to make you responsible for my issues. And on top of that, you're responsible for fixing them. Because we in this now. And you got to fix my issues. I didn't get married to fix nobody's issues. I got issues of my own that I'm still dealing with. And it's a very selfish attitude, you know what I mean? So it's important. So there are a few qualities that I want to highlight that are telltale signs that you are not ready for marriage. I don't know, am I making sense? Am I just talking off my rocker? It is easier, brothers and sisters, trust me, because some of us was on our way to Jannah before we got married. Let me say that again. Some of us was on our way to Jannah before we got married. And we entered into the institution of marriage, and now we're on the brink of the pit of the hellfire. Real talk. Because you are in this institution and you're denying people their rights, you're oppressing people, you're taking anger out, or you're abusive, and you're doing all of these things within the institution of marriage, not realizing that when you entered into that institution, you became responsible. You was a consenting adult. You became responsible. Haven't you heard all of the narrations, all of the hadith about the person who does this going to the hellfire? The woman who asks for khula without a legitimate reason, what's her punishment? She will not smell the fragrance of Jannah. We have women who ask for khula, right? Every 24 hours somebody's asking for khula. If we could do statistics. Every 24 hours, there's a Muslim sister somewhere asking for a khula without a valid reason. Or what about the brother who divorces without a legitimate reason? Allah put divorce in your hands. What about the brothers who have multiple wives and you're oppressing one to placate the feelings of the other? And you're like a ping pong, they playing you, both of them. I'm not getting this, and you rush to placate that one feelings, or I'm not getting that, and you're just like a ping pong ball, jumping from back to forth. And the Prophet ﷺ, what's the punishment of a man who has multiple wives and inclines towards one more than the other? He will come on the day of judgment with a deformity. You will be lopsided in front of everybody. We hide our deformities, both physically and psychologically in this life. We blend in and try to make it seem like we're just like everybody else. I'm normal. So how will it be on the day of judgment when you come and one of your sides is leaning, you have this physical deformity in front of everyone as a punishment? But look at the punishment. The punishment is one of your sides will be leaning. Come at tudinu tudan, just as you deal, so shall you be dealt with. You incline towards one wife more than the other, then guess what Allah's going to punish you with? One of your sides is going to be leaning unlike the other. It's like Bani Israel, when Allah told them to slaughter the calf, and he said, what color should it be? Should it be male or female? Should it be this? Should it be domesticated? They didn't want to do it, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ended up turning them into what? Apes. You are half a man, just like you was half obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah made you half of a human being. You have some of the faculties of a human, but you're not actually human. Just like when Allah commanded you to do something and you half did it. Come at tudinu tudan, just as you deal, so shall you be dealt with. So it's easier not to go into something and get prepared rather than going into it unprepared and destroy yourself. Tell yourself, I'm not ready for marriage, especially those of us who have just gotten out of a marriage. You are not equipped to go into that again right now. Don't let your wants supersede, or your needs supersede, or your wants supersede your needs. You want to get married, but what you need to do is be patient. That's what you need to do. And as I said, some of us we were on our way to Jannah. As long as we were single, we was praying 5 times a day, we were focused. And the Prophet, there's actually an authentic hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't know anything that is more damaging to a sound thinking man. Judgment is on point than one of you women. We got it all figured out when we're single. We get up, we go to work. Because men, we like structure. This is why boys join gangs and, Muslims join Salafis and, all pun intended. It is what it is. We like structure, no matter how dysfunctional it is. We love structure. That's our life as men. We get up, we go to work, we come home, go to the masjid, pray. It's a very structured life. And then when a woman comes into that life, right? Things change. I used to get up for tahajjud every night. Wallahi, like clockwork. I didn't even need an alarm clock until I got married. I ain't prayed tahajjud since. It's a struggle. Don't judge me. It's complicated. No, though, real talk. And men, can you relate to that? When you were single, it was like clockwork. Up for Fajr, up on time, you're doing it, you're doing it. And then the woman comes into your life and things get very complicated for you. Because women they bring a lot to the table. Because it's not like you having a friendship with another guy, it's just you dealing with the physical. You're dealing with physical and emotional. And sometimes, that can be a lot for us. So let's talk about, I'm going to give you 7 ways to know that you are not ready for marriage. Number 1, take notes, please. Write down. You want to write this down. Number 1, you are not ready for marriage if you are not ready to be selfless. Absolutely. Marriage requires self-sacrifice. Marriage requires self-sacrifice. You have to make some sacrifices in order to make the marriage work. If you're selfish and you're not willing to make sacrifices, then guess what? No marriage is going to work for you. No marriage is going to work for you. You can jump from relationship to relationship to relationship and blame it on everybody else, but the fact of the matter is that you don't have what it takes, the sacrifice that is necessary to make a marriage work. Because we're selfish. There's a concept in Islam that you cannot achieve righteousness until you give from what you love. There's an ayah in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will